Day 3 of Chicago Bears mandatory minicamp has come and gone as the boys will now break for about 6 weeks before returning to Chicago and to Hallis Hall for training camp in late July. We'll get to today's news and notes from Day 3 of minicamp here on Chicago Bears Now, of course, presented by Prize Picks. My name is Harrison Graham, and we have a channel goal. So I want to get to 165,000 subscribers by training camp. This time of year, it's a lot of, recurring audience because there's not a lot of new stuff going on now that minicamp has wrapped. So tell a friend. Let's get more Bears fans in here. Let's get to 165K strong, and that way the big goal is 200K by the end of the upcoming season. We'll see if we can get there, but that's the goal here. But we're going to keep pumping out the content on a daily basis, so rock with us here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. All right, let's get to some minicamp notes. Ben Johnson, very pleased with his team and how they approach the springtime and so on and so forth, obviously through phase 3 now, which is OTAs and minicamp. He said that they accomplished a lot, obviously a lot of focus on fundamentals, technique. He's repeated time and time again, jobs and roles will be earned once we get into training camp and once the pads go on. This spring was more about, starting over and building back up with the basics, with the fundamentals, with the hard work, and he feels like that has been accomplished. He said the veterans did a great job of, not only understanding the standard, but holding the younger guys to that. And a lot of this team is the same from last year, right? So they kind of know the deal with Ben Johnson. We've talked about this. He set the tone and the standard early on last year, and they know what he expects. So, for Ben Johnson to be very complimentary of the guys in the springtime, I take him for his word at that. So got some good work in over the past couple months, and now the fellas get a break. Obviously want to train on their own, and then they'll return in late July. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, Caleb Williams, what is his motivation? I thought Ben Johnson dropped an interesting quote about him in terms of what he's motivated by entering year 3 in the NFL. He said he wants to win in Chicago and he wants to win Super Bowls. That is plural. That's his motivation factor, and he's been clear and consistent in that message. In the year and a half I've gotten to know him, he continues to make significant strides, and I'm very happy with where he's at. And look, when you combine talent, positive attitude, work ethic, with a very smart coach and dedicated coach like Ben Johnson, obviously good teammates and coaches around him as well, like when you mix those ingredients together, chances are good things are going to happen. We saw the highs last year with this relationship developing over time. Obviously there were growing pains with the complications of the offense and the complexities, but now that part of it should be mostly behind. Obviously there will be some rust to knock off once training camp gets here, but they understand what the offense is, and now it's kind of just getting back into the swing of things and expanding off of that, getting more consistent, building more chemistry with the guys and all that. So I think Caleb's in a good spot, and I think Ben is pretty happy with how things have gone so far. All right, a big emphasis and focus during this springtime that Caleb has been leaning into, and Ben has talked about it, is not just like accuracy in general, but like specific accuracy, like ball placement. And Caleb was kind of asked about this, and this is what he said. He said, I'm focused on ball placement, being able to put the ball in the best placement for the wide receivers. It starts with consistent completions, then it grows to placing the ball in a better spot for the guys. I'm focused on getting completion percentage up, keeping the offense on the field, and scoring more points. It's not a secret. Like, the next step for Caleb in terms of just being a better player is just racking more completions up, right? Like 58%, we could talk about the drops. We understand that's part of it, but he's got to be at least in the low 60s as a baseline moving forward, and hopefully into the mid-high 60s eventually. I don't know if 70% with his play style and hunting the explosives will ever be a consistent thing, but, individual games throughout a season, I think that's certainly possible. And I think it's more of like, hey, like if the first read's open, take that more often than not, and then obviously pick your spots more specifically on when to hunt those bigger plays. It's about threading that needle. And, we've heard positives like in the 7-on-7 drills, which is like, hey, just stat completions. That has gone pretty well throughout OTAs and minicamp reportedly. So I think Caleb's a smart guy. He understands there was meat left on the bone last year. And the exciting part about that is, despite that, they were a pretty clear top 10 offense across the board. So like you start, just building off of what you did last year in terms of what you left on the table, which was a decent amount, you could be one of the best offenses in the NFL. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up here in just a moment. But shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. No one does daily fantasy better. Available in all 50 states in some capacity. Pick more or less on stat projections for players. The basketball finals, guys, the hockey finals, these games have been unbelievable. And if you're going to be watching them anyway, you might as well put your money where your mouth is. You can't find a better place to make money while watching sports than Prize Picks. So get started today. Also, the big soccer tournament, it is here. It is underway. They had a max discount for Cesar Montes, more than half a pass. Obviously, that happened. Now, let's go red, white, and blue. Christian Pulisic just need more than 2.5 shots to win $30. $10 lineup to win $30. Check it out. Prize Picks is awesome. Use code HMA after you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. That's going to get you an additional $50 in player picks lineups. Get started today. Pick more, pick less. Code HMA, $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup with our friends at Prize Picks. Back to the offense. The Bears were 9th in scoring at just under 26 points per game. And you think about how many games into the season it took to kind of get the pre-snap stuff under control. I think Caleb mentioned it on the New Heights podcast the other day that it wasn't until that second Vikings game, which I think was like week 10 or 11, where he felt like he was in command and in control for the most part. Like there was just a lot going on. There's motions on almost every single play in this offense. There's a lot of shifting. There's a lot of checks at the line, and they were still one of the better offenses in the NFL in year one in this new system. And that includes a lot of under center play action, turn your back to the defense, which Caleb had basically never done in his football career. So now you stack all those reps and confidence you gained from last year. You get back into the springtime, really lock in more on the fundamentals. Now when you get to training camp, okay, you understand, I don't want to put a specific percentage of it, but a big chunk of what you want to be offensively. You understand the concepts. Obviously, there's always new stuff you're going to install, especially with a creative guy like Ben Johnson, but you're just starting on second base instead of in the on-deck circle, which is where they probably started last year with some of the growing pains of just getting out of the huddle and stuff like that. So you just can see how much further they can go with this offense. I don't think it's crazy to say at all this can be a top 3 to 5 offense this year. I think the baseline moving forward is top 10. Got to be a top 10 offense year in and year out. When you have a play caller like Ben Johnson, that's got to be the baseline. But I think you hunt for top 5 this year. I mean, Caleb on Crosby's podcast earlier this year said, they're chasing the points per game record. I don't know if they can top the 2013 Broncos or whatever it is. There's like 37 points per game. Seems lofty, but north of 30, I think that's very much a possibility this season. Fill in the blank. The Bears will have a top blank offense in 2026. I think it's going to be a top 6 or 7 offense. Will they get top 5? Will they be top 3? Could they be the best? I think all that's attainable, but I think they'll be one of the 6 or 8 best ones and be more consistent overall. Okay, some on-field takeaways from today. Sounds like it was a lighter practice, third day in a row out there, so that's typically how that goes. You see these other teams, they just cancel the third day a lot, or even all of mandatory minicamp in some cases. Sean Hammond brought up a specific situation that popped up, which was interesting. He said the Bears were down 2 scores with 4 minutes left, so obviously in hurry-up mode. Caleb Williams hit Luther Burden on a deep ball. Other reporters said it was about 45 yards. He thought he scored. The ref marked him down at the 5, so I don't know if his knee slightly grazed or if he stepped out of bounds or whatever. Burden was arguing his case to the official, and then Caleb apparently barked at him and said, get lined up so we can spike. And that's another big talking point that's kind of been reported on. Ben's talked about it. Caleb's talked about, like, that next step from Caleb was like he is fully comfortable, like, calling a guy out, getting a guy like the direction he needs, all that stuff. And you need your franchise quarterback to do that. So that's a very positive sign. As well, it's also positive. Luther Burden's had a hell of a spring, it sounds like. Brad Biggs added that big day for Cairo Santos, nailed a 60-yarder in crosswind. Is his leg getting stronger as he ages? In a late-game situation, that was after connecting from 58, 6 for 6 on the day. Kind of an interesting note here. Snap on the 60-yarder was low. Didn't see the snapper. Remember, they've got two long snappers in camp right now, Luke Elkin and Bo Gardner, the UDFA out of Georgia. So unclear who snapped that one, but that's kind of a sneaky competition going on right now because Scott Daly is not with the team. I think he signed with Tampa or someone recently. So a couple of young guys competing for that role. Lastly, just some notable absences from today. Kobe Bryant was not out there, and then the absences were basically the same. Other than that, more on Kobe in a second. But DeMarco Jackson, who got banged up earlier in the week, did not practice yesterday or today. Hopefully that's a minor deal and he's good for training camp, but that's a name to keep an eye on. Obviously, he could have a notable role this year. Still no Kyler Gordon, Cam Lewis, Ruben Hippolyte, Keyshawn Elliott, Noah Sewell, Ozzie Trapillo, or Shamar Turner. Sean Hammond did add note on Kobe Bryant. Seahawks will get their Super Bowl rings tonight, so perhaps he had to fly back to Seattle, get a Super Bowl ring. Who knows? Sounds like probably some kind of excused absence situation. I'm not sure, but all signs have been positive with him since he's been here. So I have no reason to think that that's some kind of injury or something like that. So should be all good on that front. There you go. Day 3, mandatory minicamp in the books. And the boys now vacay for the next 6 weeks. Obviously, they'll be training as well, just not in the facility. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We'll have our final minicamp winners and losers on a video soon, so stay tuned for that as well. Bear down.